Fahle, and we're on the set of BookView Now, pbs.org. This is BookCon 2015. We're sitting with the cast and writers and crew of Paper Towns. This is a big deal. Welcome, first of all, to all of you guys. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go around the line really quick. We've got John Green, author. We've got Nat Wolff, actor. We've got Justice Smith, actor. We've got Michael Bennett, who is a
Weber.
Michael Weber. We'll fix that. Michael Weber, our screenwriter.
Matt.
That's so uncool of me. I'm so sorry.
All right.
I'm so sorry. We've got Jake Schreier, the director, and we've got Ryan Lott, our composer. Really nice to have all of you guys here. It's wonderful. We're going to go around the horn. John, this is the second big adaptation of your novels. You're bringing some of the people in. Nat was with you before. They're doing such a great job. They're taking them to a whole nother place, even from where the book was. You're in good hands, but what are your thoughts about the whole process of turning your books into movies?
Well, it would have been a much more intimidating process if I didn't know a lot of the people who were overseeing it. So, you know, Nat was attached to the project very early on. I know Nat. I like Nat. We had the same screenwriters as with The Fault in Our Stars, same producers, same studio. And Jake Schreier, the director of this film, is one of my favorite people. He's just brilliant. And so I never had to worry that much. This time, as opposed to last time when I was afraid the whole time, this time I could really kind of enjoy it and just be grateful for this extraordinary good fortune I've had.
Yeah. And Jake, you took on this project, and it has this massive following of fans, and there's a lot of people who are very excited about it. It puts a little added backstory into the project for you. What was it like sort of taking on a project that has such a strong following out of the gate?
I mean, I think, you know, the first thing about it was that I was a fan. I mean, when they sent me the book, I loved it, and I connected with it. And I mean, you know, making a movie is plenty of pressure enough. Like, I tried not to think about all the other people that would be disappointed if I got it wrong. I mean, I know that I would have been the most disappointed, and maybe right after John if I had screwed it up. So there was plenty of pressure not to screw it up already. And I think, you know, everyone involved with it has such a love for the material and just wants to do the best thing by the movie. And when everyone feels that way, like, you can really spend less time worrying, like John said, and more time just kind of creating and figuring out what's right for the project and just having fun and making something good. And, you know, if you do that, I think you have to trust, you know, if you've done it once before like me, or a few times before like the rest of the guys up here, you know, that when it's clicking like that, that you know that if you feel good about it, then other people will too.
You know, I think readers come to it with a sense of relief too. I mean, a beloved book that is being released into the wild, as it were, that they have this vision of in their head, there's always concern that it's not going to sort of live up to what they imagined when they read it. And they know now with Paper Towns, because they've been through Fault in Our Stars, that this thing is like in good hands, and that they're excited, even more excited maybe than Fault in Our Stars, because they loved the first one. So that maybe takes a little bit of the pressure off, but probably not much for you.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they'll
Just
be happy.
just changes the pressure, but I'm sure they'll be happy.
You're like,
Modifies
maybe not,
slightly the pressure. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Nat, you've been through two of them, and they're probably a little bit different. But now you're in a starring role. You were in I mean, there wasn't that many in the last one, so you were pretty much a starring role the last one. But now you're carrying this one. How does it feel to do it again with that sort of fandom component that comes along with this movie?
I mean, it's just really exciting. I mean, first off, I'm just a fan of John, so I'm a fan of the books, and you know, just like what Jake said, we want to do right by the book and then make a really good movie. So, you know, if we had to ditch certain specifics of the book to serve, you know, the movie as a whole, you know, we all kind of did that, especially, you know, Weber. And but it's just been a dream come true for me. I mean, Fall was such an amazing experience, but it was harder in a lot of ways because first of all, it's, you know, it's sadder. It's, you know, there's more cancer in Fall for sure. And so, like, you know, I'd pop in, you know, I'd do these scenes and I'd pop in one day, and then I'd work 2 weeks later and do another day, and that was just hard kind of finding my through line. Whereas with this movie, I knew that I was in it way before we did the movie, and I really got to feel more of a part of the creative team, or at least they made me feel that way. And by the time we got shooting, I felt like we all were so on the same page that it was almost all the conversation and all the work had already been done by the time we got on set.
Yeah. Justice, this is a big gig. I mean, to be in one of these where, like, you know, there's like people screaming and running and chasing after and waiting for the next one. it's got to be pretty exciting for you too. I mean, it is for all of us, obviously, but what's it like for you getting a role like this that's going to be seen by so many?
It's crazy. It's my first movie, and it's a pretty good first movie.
I'd say.
On set, like I was kind of nervous going in it, but what made me more nervous was the crowds of people on the sidelines just cheering John's name. Where's John? There he is. And
rock star thing going on there.
And but I mean, overall, like, the fans are really supportive and they want you to do well. So like, I kind of felt okay, you know, going about it and doing each scene, and hopefully I like did radar justice. No pun intended.
Radar Justice Smith.
It's good branding. Good branding.
That was perfect. I think so. I think so for sure. And not only that, but I think that, you know, when you're at BookCon and we're talking about a movie like this at BookCon, we're not a Comic-Con, we're at BookCon. It makes all of us who've been in books for a long time really excited because it brings an energy to books that's a little bit different. Not that there isn't energy in books, but this brings a whole nother level. So to see an organization like BookCon get to the level it is, thanks to movies and books like yours, John, is pretty, you know, fun for all of us book lover people too. Yeah. Michael Weber. So sorry, man. I got you, man. I'll cover you. Michael Weber, and I'm just gonna call you Weber now, just to kind of get over that. Yeah. You've done some really cool movies. I mean, I know that you've worked with John before, but 500 Days of Summer, one of my favorites. Such a clever writing process there. But now you're working with, you know, a book that you got to adapt that so many people know. How collaboratively did you and John work on that, and how comfortable are you just to call him up and say, what do you think about this?
We actually, Scott Neustadter, my friend and writing partner, he and I called John. I think we talked to you a couple of times during the writing of Paper Towns. When we adapted The Fault in Our Stars, we didn't meet John till after we had finished the script. So this time around was very different for us, and thankfully at that, because I think this adaptation was trickier, and we needed to lean on John a little because you can't keep everything. So choices have to be made, or it would be a 7-hour movie. And coming up with the best way to preserve the spirit of the book and the experience of reading it was just harder this time around. So that we already had a relationship with John and could reach out to him was so helpful to us.
Yeah, when you're deciding what not to put in, that just seems like some of the most painful cuts. John, are you like worried when you're dropping things off, or you're like, no, that can go? Yeah, I think it's a good call.
I mean, I hope at least that I don't have too much ownership over the books I've published, you know, that I don't try to enforce my will on them. I don't think that they belong to me once they're out. So, you know, my focus was the same as Weber's focus, which was to try to find a way to preserve the story and the themes of the story and the characters, and that was my priority. And I thought, honestly, they did a great job of that. So it's never hard with Weber and Neustadter, because they always, you know, if you have thoughts or concerns, they just fix it immediately. It's they're weirdly talented. Sometimes it's annoying to me because I struggle so much with revision, and they turn in a revision like a week later, and it's frustrating.
Well, we're two, and neither of us, we don't have lives. That's certainly a factor.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
That's evidence by the
Neustadter has a little bit of a life.
You know what, let's be fair. Scott has a life. I don't have a life.
Yeah,
so that
it is
that
true
helps.
that you don't have a life.
Yeah,
that is true.
You know, I will say everything's a discussion. So when we're making changes, it's not do this, fix that, change that. We talk about the choice.
Yeah.
And the thing about a movie is it's not, a movie doesn't come together in a few days. It's a process that takes months, if not years. So that discussion is ongoing for a really long time. So a lot of times we'll leave something be, but start talking about it, and it'll evolve over months, pre-production, production.
Yeah.
So, you know, now that we've done this a few times, I think there's some familiarity there in terms of like how we sort of push back and give notes and talk to each other about this kind of stuff.
That's cool. Have you ever thought about doing your own movies or thinking about screenwriting like that?
No, I mean, I tried to write a script of Paper Towns many years ago, and it was a complete disaster. And I wrote a terrible script and alienated the nice people who wanted me to make the movie. And yeah, it was disaster. It could
It
not have.
worked out pretty good, man.
It could not have gone worse, except that, of course, like 2008 me had no idea that 2015 me would get to be here with these people. And, you know, watching Weber and Neustaedter work for me has been a real education in learning what I suck at. And I don't have their incredible genius for structure or for being able to draw character and story arcs, and so God bless them.
Yeah. I'm not nodding because you suck. I'm nodding because I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's things
Yeah,
that I'm
you
not
do.
good at. I'm also
Not
terrible.
'cause you suck.
I'm also a terrible actor, right, Nat?
No, he's a great actor.
Ryan, I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
John's movies are, they're heart-rendering. They're you know, the heart-rending. They're really they're emotional. You know, to thinking about the music is such a critical element of these movies in particular, to bring out that sort of emotion that's happening on the screen. When you thought about this, what kind of challenge did that present to you?
Well, it's a complex story, and in some ways it's kind of like in multiple genres. I mean, that's what I saw immediately, even in the rough cut. That even though it was, it called on different idioms. It was an articulate story, and I thought, from a musical perspective, that would be such a cool challenge. To sort of live in multiple worlds at once, and that's something I love to do as a musician already. So it felt like a natural fit, and you know, with great input from my team, Jake at the helm, really, it was nothing but a pleasure. I was really excited to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Nat, can you tell me what it was like? We don't have Cara here, but working with Cara Delevingne.
I did the same, Cara Delevingne.
Cara.
But sorry.
Thanks for
She
sticking up
gave me
for
a lot
me
of
with
trouble about that too. Cara Bennett actually is her real name. I'm just kidding. It was really great working with Cara. You know, she came in the chemistry read, and I was like the only person on the face of the earth who hadn't heard of her for some reason. But as soon as she walked in, I was like, I think I recognize. Were you? I realized she was on like a poster outside my building in New York. I was like, I think I walked by my dog past you about 10,000 times. And then she just really blew us away. You know, she's such a spontaneous actress and a spontaneous person, and we became really close. You know, doing the movie, and I feel really lucky that she played Margot. She's great.
Yeah, she is great. She's a great Margot. Jake, when you're thinking about that relationship and bringing that relationship out in its full form on screen, with two people who are just meeting each other for the first time, how do you go about sort of nudging that in the right direction as a director?
You hire really, really good actors,
Yeah,
and
say
then you
go.
let them do what they do. I mean, I think what's nice about what worked in our favor in this movie is that, in a way, it's a book and also a movie about how Q really doesn't know Margot. He thinks that he does, and so there was an electricity when they met that we knew would spark the relationship that we needed in the film, but there didn't need to be an excessive amount of familiarity. In fact, I almost got worried because they did get very close, and I started to get worried that almost too much familiarity would creep in before we had filmed all the scenes where it's really just their first night out together. You know, he's never really spent time with her. So all that was important was that we had two really good actors who not only understood the characters, but also could add those layers around the edges of it, because like there's a way you could play them, there's a way you could play any character that's kind of expected and straight ahead. And Nat has so much energy and so much kind of range that he could bring so much more to Q than you might just imagine he could be. And the same with Cara. Like what we saw in that room was that this isn't exactly the way you pictured it right in the book, but this is a real version of Margot standing in front of us. Like this feels like a person that you can imagine, and you can imagine a life outside of the film that extends beyond the edges of the frame. And I think, we were just lucky to have them.
Yeah, and I think thank you, Jake. And just to say, like with Jake, a lot of times you're doing a movie and you feel like you're just kind of swinging, like you don't really have any anchor, and more than anybody I've ever worked with, Jake really is the anchor, and I just 100% trust him. So I felt like even if I wouldn't understand, so even if I didn't quite understand, I didn't have to battle anything out with him, because we just had such a level of I think we both really trusted each other, and it was, just can't wait to work with him again. Paper Towns 2.
Paper Towns 2. The
Electric
camaraderie.
Boogaloo.
The college years.
Yeah, the college years.
The camaraderie is obvious. I mean, off camera there was a raging debate about which is the best Die Hard movie, and
Or-
I.
You're insane.
No, I'm not. It's the fourth Die Hard movie is the best.
The first one's the best one by far. You could argue what the second best one is.
For sure
The you could argue what the second best one is, but the first one makes sense.
The first Die Hard movie is an important movie in the history of action films, primarily because it laid the groundwork for the eventual genius of Die Hard 4, the greatest
What happened
action
in your life
movie.
during Die Hard 4 that made it so he talks about Die Hard 4 so much?
It's a great movie.
Was your kid
But the
born
people
during
in-
Die Hard 4 or something in the theater?
No.
People involved with Die Hard 4 don't even think it's the best Die Hard.
All right, one last question. Although I
BookCon
could stay on Die Hard for a
2015,
while.
ladies and gentlemen.
John,
Everyone
BookCon
go
is
see
getting
Die Hard
big.
4.
I mean, a big part of what you started with your books and what's been sort of created, and there's these other huge stars in books now. It's really fun to see people like Rainbow Rowell and all
Yeah.
these other people sort of, growing to this other level, and a lot of people that we had on our set today. What do you see happening with books now? I mean, where in some cases I think our kids or other people's kids are reading much more than their parents
Yeah.
were reading. I mean, it's sort of exploding as we...
Yeah, people always talk about how they're worried about young people and millennials being self-absorbed and out of touch and not reading or whatever. And I just don't buy that at all. I'm much more worried about us not reading than I'm worried about them not reading. I mean, most people who read Gatsby every year are teenagers. So I'm not that worried about them. But I think it's great. I mean, I love getting excited meeting, my favorite authors. Like I get excited seeing Rainbow Rowell or seeing Jackie Woodson, and so I still have that. I am a fan, and I feel very grateful to that so much of that fan culture, especially around YA books, has embraced my work. But I think the challenge now is to, try to distribute that out so that it isn't so focused on blockbuster authors and books, and instead we all get to see, a broader range of books available and being widely read. So that's what I really want to see in the next few years is more people reading more books every year.
Yeah, well, there's a great foundation that you're starting to see now. We need more diverse books, and some of the new things that are happening are really exciting.
Yeah.
Love that you're leading the way, and Paper Towns, very exciting, July 24th, really excited to see it. And the work you guys have done it.
Nat hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah. But thank you all for being here. Very great. Weber, like to see you too. And I really thank you for coming to the set today. Awesome.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Very good.
That was fun, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you messed up.
Funding for BookView Now is provided by the Wincote Foundation.